Before I really get started on this video, I should explain a few things. I've been a really long-term user of Android and I've used almost every version to date extensively. The only thing I haven't ever had any experience with is Android Wear, so this is a first-time product for me. I'm going to be pairing the Ticwatch E with my Google Pixel 2 XL, and I'm largely hoping to use it in order to respond to text messages and emails quickly and have my notifications inconspicuously pushed to my wrist so I don't have to constantly pull my phone out of my pocket. Whilst the idea of smartwatches and even Android Wear as a platform have existed for a number of years now, it's never really been a series of products that I've found particularly interesting. The price alone was enough to put anyone off really, but even were you to spend the money, what were you really getting? Up until this point, Android Wear hasn't really been able to offer me any features that I really found myself needing, and because of that I was unwilling to sort of spend up to, £400 on a smartwatch that realistically wasn't going to be of any more use to me than my smartphone was anyway. My stance on electronic products, and particularly mobile ones, has always been never to buy a first-generation device, and that stands true for smartwatches. Now that Android Wear 2.0 has launched, it finally becomes something that I can afford and something that offers me features and reliability that I can actually see myself using for a number of years to come. And this is where the Ticwatch E comes in. At just over £100, the Ticwatch E is a fantastic means of entering the Android Wear ecosystem on a budget, particularly if, like me, you're not quite sure of what Android Wear can really do for you or how much you'll use the smartwatch, and you don't want to shell out a lot of money for something you might not really use. Not only does it offer you many of the features that you'd come to expect in a smartwatch that, costs twice its value, it's all packaged in a really neat design that you might actually want to wear outside your house. On the topic of design, whilst the watch is made out of plastic, glass and silicone, it doesn't feel particularly cheaply made. Whilst I'm sure it won't stand up to the long years of abuse in the same way that a steel Rolex would, I think, as is going to become a common theme throughout this video, you have to consider the relatively small amount of money you're spending on the watch. Behind the glass on the front of the watch, you'll find an OLED display with a resolution of 400 by 400. It's not huge by any means, but 1.4 inches on my wrist is more than enough, to be honest. As I said, the front of the watch is made of glass, and it seems to be fairly resilient glass. I think it's more than capable of standing up to a couple of knocks and the sort of abuse that a watch gets in day-to-day life. Speaking of abuse, the watch actually also offers up an IP67 certification, and whilst that doesn't mean you can take the watch diving into the depths of the ocean with you, it's always good to know that you don't have to take it off if you have to wash your hands for any reason. As with almost any other bit of modern technology, the inside is where the real fun starts. I won't bother you with the technical specifications of the watch because, realistically, if you're looking at buying this, you already know the specifications. What you don't know, though, is how smooth the watch is. It's as smooth and as fast as any other Android Wear 2 watch that I've used when you're flicking or swiping around the operating system, and I'm yet to encounter any lag, which is actually really impressive, again, when you consider the cost of the item. The back of the watch is where you'll find arguably one of the most impressive features considering the price, that being the heart rate monitor. And while I can't comment on the accuracy of this heart rate monitor because I don't have another means of measuring my heart rate, I can definitely see people who are really into their sports making good use of this. On the theme of sports, the pedometer in the watch actually seems to be fairly accurate. In fact, it's probably more accurate than the one inside my Pixel 2 XL. Whilst it probably won't measure your steps if you're running or you're walking to a scientific standard, it's probably more than good enough for those of us that just like to have a step count running on a day in, day out basis. The watch has only one button, which can be used for a number of things. One quick press will take you either to your apps or your homepage, depending on where you are. A longer press will trigger the Google Assistant, and holding it for about 5 seconds or so powers down the watch. Software-wise, the Ticwatch of course runs Android Wear 2.0, which in my early hours of testing has been perfectly pleasant. I'm not going to comment on the Ticwatch specific features because they're not things I really see myself ever using. I tend to prefer Google Fit and Google's fleet of other applications over those developed by third parties. On that note, I find having the Google Assistant incredibly useful on almost any device. Having it permanently attached to my wrist can only be a good thing for me, to be perfectly honest. Whether it's asking for a song or responding to a text or even turning the lights on and off, the Google Assistant is something that's becoming a must-have in my day-to-day life. It's still too early on really for me to say anything about the battery life on this watch. Ticwatch do state that it will hit about 2 days of battery life, and on my first day I'm certainly not going to get anywhere near that because I'm jumping into the Play Store, installing applications, and I'm transferring all of my other information over. Other people seem to be remarkably positive about the battery life though, which is a positive thing to me. Following that, it's needless to say that if I do make any fantastically concerning observations on the battery life, there'll be a follow-up video explaining exactly what's going on. And on that note, I think that's everything I have to say on the watch. Obviously, it's still very early days for me, so I don't know everything, but my initial impressions are at least very positive.